One
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for waiting. Madam Clerk.
Okay, we're up to manager's report.
Okay, Vinnie, you're on.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First up, we have a presentation on the best practices checklist, and that'll be with our CFO, Jim Manning.
Okay, as you know, every year we do the best practices checklist, which is a state requirement. This is a program that started back in 2010, just in case anybody's not familiar with it. What happens is the state issues what it considers to be a number of best practices. They put it out to us, we have to complete the inventory, we submit it. If we don't score high enough, it does affect our state aid. This year, there were 46 questions. We answered in the affirmative on 38 of them, and our score was 31.5 out of a maximum 36.5. If you put on a scale of 100, that's about an 86%. That's a B plus. Okay. Like I said, there were 8 questions where we answered no on. Well, at least one of them we've corrected already. I know, speaking to the city manager, that a couple of these questions will be corrected when we update our personnel manual. Okay? And as in years past, you all have a copy of it. If you have any questions on it, that's fine. This will be posted on the website. We put this up every year. Okay? Anybody have any questions on anything?
Second item on the agenda is also with Jim, is the Hackensack Fire Department safety training.
Frank, if you could give me a hand. Not seeing the network.
All right.
SBW. And now it's asking for a pin.
You want to say you want
Sorry about that. Okay. Alright, so here tonight to talk about the SAFER grant. Okay? A lot's been said about the SAFER grant. A lot's been said. So before I get into it, if you don't mind, if I could just kind of like provide some context for this issue. Okay? Mayor, now, your administration came in July of 2013. Okay? It was about 6 months after you came in that I got hired as the CFO. So we've been through a lot together the last 9 years. And we've always followed the same procedure when it comes to financial issues. We've always gotten a very clear direction from the mayor and council. Okay? From there, then, whether it be an issue, a question, a problem, from there I would do a financial analysis. And the analysis that we did was always long-term. Okay? We always looked beyond next year, the year after, 5 years, 10 years, in the case of sewers, 40 years down the road. Okay? And this has been the hallmark of this administration, where we don't kick the can down the road and don't worry about the long term in favor of the short term. We've never done that. Okay? And the reason that we do that is not just our policy, it's also the law. Now, this is the NJ Administrative Code for Chief Financial Officers. Okay? It says that Chief Financial Officer shall carry out such duties as set forth in this section, along with other such duties as required by law. It then lists all of the duties. And number 7 is to lead in helping the governing body develop fiscal policy, including preparing projections and calculations to support long-term plans concerning revenue, appropriations, surplus, the tax levy and caps thereon, and for chief municipal finance officers, the municipal budget appropriations cap. That's highlighted because I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Okay? And we've been very successful following this model. Okay? We erased a tax appeal refund liability of $28 million, and we did that with a very minimal tax increase. We did a number of capital projects, including the Main Street, State Street two-way conversion, the Performing Arts Center renovation, the M&M building renovation, the Main Street streetscape, and we're building a sports facility in Johnson Park. All these projects were done with no tax increase. Then, most recently we turned our sights on alleviating flooding. Now to date, we've invested over $53 million in projects to alleviate flooding. Again, following the same model that we've always found, or that we've always followed. Clear direction from the mayor and council, long-term financial planning. By the way, the $53 million in sewers, also no tax increase. Okay? That's the way we've always worked. Okay? That didn't happen with the SAFER grant. Okay? And we'll get into it, exactly why. We got a clear direction from the mayor and council. The clear direction was do a grant application for 5 firefighters. Okay? The actual application that went in was for 12 firefighters. Now, it's not my job here to get into what happened to the application or anything like that, but suffice it to say that the direction was for 5, okay? We were awarded a grant for 12, and I was asked to do a financial analysis to see what does that 12 do to our budgets, okay? But before I do that, I just want to talk for a second about the SAFER grant, so just so everybody understands what it is, okay? SAFER stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. And it's just that. It's designed to hire personnel to improve your emergency response. It's a federal grant, and it's important to remember that it is a federal grant. I'll come back to that a little bit later on too. It's budgeted through in the federal budget under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It's administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, and it follows, as all grants do, all federal grants do, the Grant Programs Directorate. Okay. The SAFER grant itself has 2 programs. There's a hiring component, which is open to career fire departments like Hackensack to put on additional fire personnel. And then there's an R&R program, which stands for Recruitment and Retention. Okay, that's a program that's open to volunteer and combination fire departments. Combination means some volunteers and some careers. Okay, career fire departments are not eligible for the R&R program. So last September, we got awarded a SAFER grant for 12 additional firefighters. And the way it works is we would hire 12 firefighters. In year one, the grant would give us $636,000 toward the salaries and benefits of those firefighters. Year two, $758,000. Year three, $999,000. Total grant award, $2,394,042. Okay? Now, the problem for us here is that grants, like everything else, have to conform to the New Jersey local budget law. Okay? And within the New Jersey budget law, there are caps. Caps are limits from one budget year to another. And basically there's two. There's the tax levy cap, which says that the tax levy can't increase by more than 2% with certain exceptions from one budget year to the next. And then there's also a spending cap. The spending cap says that budget spending can't increase by more than 2.5% with certain exceptions unless the municipality passes a cap ordinance, in which case spending can go up to 3.5%, but can never increase more than 3.5% from one budget year to the next. Every year during the budget presentation, I've made the recommendation that we do a cap ordinance, and every year you complied with that request. And we've done a cap ordinance every year that I've been here. Okay? So again, the tax levy cap. Taxes can't go up by more than 2% with exceptions. The spending cap, spending can't go up more than 3.5% with certain exceptions. And what are the exceptions? Okay? There's a number of them, but the three main exceptions are grants, capital expenditures, and debt service. Okay? Now, for us, the budget always faces, is always a number of different challenges, and every year those challenges are unique. In 2023, the budget that we've already started working on, there's a number of factors that you have to consider with the budget. Okay? First is, in 2021, the inflation rate was 7%. This was the highest inflation the nation has seen in the last 40 years. Now, as a result of that, our 2022 budget exceeded the 3.5% spending cap. The reason we were able to get it approved is because in years when you don't exceed the spending cap, you can bank the difference between what your spending is and what you're allowed to spend. So in 2022, we took what we had banked in 2020. You can only keep it for 2 years. We took what we had banked in 2020, applied it to the 2022 budget, and that's how we were able to get the 2022 budget approved by the state. Now we know that in 2022, the inflation rate is now 7.7%. Because of that, we know for a fact that our 2023 budget will exceed the 3.5% spending cap. We know that, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the bank that we had from the 21 budget, apply it to 23, and we should be okay, all right? Now, as far as the SAFER grant goes, now what does the SAFER grant do to our budget? This was the budget projections that I did as, at your request. So looking at the 2020, no, I'm sorry, I forgot. Other factors to consider for the 2023 budget is our health benefits. Health benefits are way up. We're projecting about a 20% increase in next year's budget. Municipalities in the state health benefits plan are projecting about a 26% increase to their premiums. We're self-insured, we're gonna be seeing about a 20% increase. In fact, later tonight at the business portion, you'll see I'm transferring $1 million into our health benefits for 2022 to cover cost overruns, and that's in addition to the $1 million I transferred back in November. And that's only gonna get us through up to the present. We still have another month to go, right? I'll be transferring more money in January, okay? Why is health benefits up so high? It's a combination of the high inflation, and this is the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. The other factor to consider for us is pensions. Every year when I do or the last few years when I've done the budget presentation, I said our pension has been going up every single year. In 2021, it went up 7.8%, about $890,000. In 2022, this year, went up 9.3%, a little more than $1 million. And just about 6 weeks ago, we got our 2023 pension bill. It's going up 11.2%, another $1.2 million. Problem for us is that spending can increase by more than 3.5%. There's no exception for health benefits. There's no exception for pension. And there's no accounting for inflation. Inflation at 7.5%, but we can increase spending more than 3.5%. Okay? So again, what does the Safer Grant do to our 2023 budget? All right. Well, we know that the cost of 12 additional firefighters in their first year, salaries and benefits, $801,000. We've been awarded a grant, $636,000. Grants are an exception to the spending cap. So what we'll do is we'll charge $636,000 to the grant. The change to the budget then is an increase of $165,000. But we add 12 firemen onto our staff, overtime is gonna come way down, okay? Now, how much down, is anybody's guess, but we do know that before COVID, fire overtime never exceeded $800,000. Then COVID hit, and fire overtime, like a lot of overtime, went through the roof. 2023, we're looking, COVID is going away. We should go back to our $800,000 level, add 12 firemen, we could save up to $800,000. And what that does in the 23 budget then is it reduces the entire budget by $634,000. That's the good news, okay? That's what the Safer Grant will do for us in 2023 with 12 firemen. Now, 2024, those same 12 firemen are now in their second year. Salaries and benefits will be $960,000, and the Safer Grant, which is in year 2, is $758,000. So the change to the budget is an increase of $202,000, which is a very manageable change, okay? Now, right now everybody's saying, what about the overtime? The problem here is that the overtime savings that we're realizing has already been realized in the 2023 budget. The cap is the change from one year to another. So if we lower the budget for overtime in 2023, you can't lower it again, and you can't go lower than 0, okay? So in 2024, we'll be adding $200,000 to our budget. But again, that's manageable. In 2025, now these 12 firemen are in their third year. The cost is going to be $1.1 million. The grant will cover $999,000. So the impact of the budget will be an increase of $122,000. Again, very manageable. But now the problem comes in 2026. In 2026, these 12 firemen are now in their fourth year, and the cost is $1,286,000. The Safer Grant's expired, okay, so the impact to the budget in 2026 is $1,286,000 increase. Now this increase would be on top of the increases that we're seeing from inflation, the increases that we expect to continue for pension, and the increases that we can expect to continue also in health benefits. Never mind just regular employee salaries. So the challenge for us in the 2026 budget is how do we cut spending to allow for a $1.2 million increase in the fire salary budget? Okay? And how do we do that when we still have to contend with inflation, double-digit increases in health benefits, and probably double-digit increases to pension continuing, when all of these things are in excess of the 3.5% that we can only raise spending. And keep in mind, after 2023, whatever we've banked has all been exhausted. Okay? That's the challenge. So the challenge for us in the 2026 budget is to do that. Now, people have said to me, well, what about pilot revenues? Which is true. Pilot revenues are increasing every single year. But what pilot revenues do is they allow us to stay below the 2% tax levy cap. They don't do anything to help us with spending. The spending cap says you can't increase spending more than 3.5%. So revenue has nothing to do with spending. So even if pilot revenues were to quadruple, still won't help us with the spending cap. Another consideration would be, well, what about firefighter retirements? Okay? Well, it is true that there is a spending savings when a long-term firefighter retires and is replaced by a lower earning, a new hire. There's spending savings, that does happen. But in 2025, we would need at least 10 firefighters to retire between January 1st and December 31st of 2025 to absorb that increase, because the SAFER grant expired, okay? And like I said, what we would need to do is somehow reduce our spending, okay? 10 firefighters retire, which is highly unlikely, that could happen. And if not, we could be forced to implement a layoff plan, okay? Now, I'm sure that you've gone through a layoff plan, I have too, and they are the ugliest thing that you ever want to see. But our problem is we can only increase spending 3.5%. So we're gonna have a hard time just staying within that cap, given the inflation rate. This is our problem. Now, getting back to retirements for a second, okay? The firefighter retirements that are actually going to occur in 2025. Like I said, it would be great if there was 10, but we can't bank on that, okay? But we do get retirements every year. And the retirements that we can expect to get in 2025 should be enough to offset the spending increase for 5 additional firefighters. Never for 12. We probably would be able to handle the 5. Okay? So in conclusion, the Fire Safer Grant, it's a federal program that's really incompatible with the local budget law. Now, with all due respect to our Congressman, Josh Gottheimer, okay? He doesn't have local government experience, okay? Wasn't a mayor, didn't serve in the state assembly or state senate, okay? Not familiar with New Jersey's extremely conservative budget laws. New Jersey's the most fiscally conservative state in the nation, okay? We have unbelievable number of rules, okay? And the SAFER grant, federal program, open to all 50 states, okay? But it's incompatible with the New Jersey local budget law if the grant award far exceeds that spending cap of 3.5%. That's our problem. Okay? So in conclusion, the City Council's direction to apply for a SAFER grant for 5 additional firefighters is going to be a challenge. That's a challenge, okay? But it's a challenge that's probably financially attainable, okay? Not very much different than the other challenges we faced before. Capital projects with no tax increase. We implemented a 5-year program of no tax increase at all. We were 3 years into it when COVID hit, and then the wheels kind of fell off, But we've met challenges before, and we can meet this challenge for 5 firefighters. We couldn't meet the challenge for 12 firefighters. Okay? One final note, anybody who's interested in information on the 3.5% spending cap, if you go on the city website, we have all the budgets posted. Sheet 3B is where we have to spell out exactly what the cap is and how we intend to comply with it. Okay? And that applies to any budget, not just 2022. They're all up on the city website. Okay? And just one final note is I do want to thank the mayor and council, all right, for taking the stand that you have. I know how difficult it's been with the public pressure. Like I said, a lot's been said, a lot's been written in the newspapers, social media, the floor of the House of Representatives, okay? And you really stood up to that pressure, okay? And that's admirable because we're following the same model that we've always done. And it would be very easy just to accept the grant, and you know what? We'll worry about it in 2026, but we've never done that. We didn't do that with tax appeals. You didn't do that with redevelopment. You didn't do that with flooding, with road paving. You've never taken that stand, So I, for one, really do appreciate the fact that you've taken a lot of heat on this issue, but I truly believe that you made the best decision that you could. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
No, thank you, good job, Jim.
Thank you for your presentation, Jim.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Got next to me.
Okay. Next up is a discussion regarding a resolution that's on tonight, Mayor and Council, for the Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. That's a grant that we received for drunk driving during the holiday season. Have it in my city manager's report later on. The final item for tonight, it's Cow, is the CSO and stormwater parks update. I'll ask Ryan West, our project manager, to come up and do a short presentation.
Good evening, everybody.
I'll pull it up for you. There you go.
While Frank's pulling that up, I'll just jump ahead to talk about a few things that are going to be on the council meeting later. A few resolutions. One, okay, I'm sorry, I'll go back.
Hey, you can still go.
That's all right, I'll go back. I was going to take a little longer. All right. CSO and Parks update for December 6th. Clay Street Sewer Separation Contract 2, which is out over here from Park Street down to the rail. It's from Fashini Park to the river. Contractor is currently working on the head wall. They have poured the foundation and are starting to form the walls. The pour was completed last week. They're also doing soil samplings for disposal at a later date of the soil when it comes out, for when they install the box culvert and the 42-inch pipe. Clay Street Sewer Separation Contract 3, that is over here at Park Street under the rail. PSE&G completed installation of gas services and the rerouting of the gas main. Test pits were performed within the transit right-of-way along Railroad Ave to determine the elevation and location of the Viola water main. It's a 20-inch transmission line that's going to be where we tunnel under the rails. So we want to make sure that we're have enough clearance that is Viola's happy with, as well as not disrupting. We don't want a 20-inch gas water main to break under the rail, so we're taking every precaution necessary to avoid that. We also have some additional test pits being performed by the end of this week. Continuing installation of stormwater and sanitary on Park Street. Some of that includes 36-inch RCP, which is round concrete pipe, and a 53-inch by 34-inch elliptical. The non-CSO, which includes the Voorhees Lane pump station replacement. The contractor, J. Fletcher Kramer, had to abandon the excavation due to water infiltration of their shoring system, so they are redesigning that. They're considering alternative alignment for the piping as well, to include using the existing pump station as a better location and for the sheet pile. The final shoring design we're expecting by the end of this week, along with cost estimates. They're scrounging all their yards to find already purchased material, because some of it is going to have to stay in the hole, so they don't want to have to purchase new sheeting and leave it there at city expense.
Do you have any idea what the impact is?
No, not at this time, but by the end of the week we'll have something. The plan is to remobilize after the holidays, and then the pump and equipment is still expected at the earliest mid to late January, so we're still on schedule. Park updates. Side Park, concrete curbs, sidewalks in and around the pavilion area are complete. The gazebo has also been installed. A list of the current remaining items to be completed are section of stamped concrete around the pavilion, synthetic lawn areas, rubberized play surfacing, the site amenities to include benches and tables, decorative fencing and lighting, and the restoration of landscape. We've also done some preliminary meetings as well as concept plans for Carver Park basketball courts, as well as the Columbus Park Phase 2 project. We held some kickoff meetings and met with some representatives of recreation and some of the sports that'll be involved. So we're working on concept plans. The next step is to finalize those and go out to bid. For the council meeting, some of the resolutions that pertain to separation and other infrastructure activities. One includes FEMA IDA disaster hazard mitigation grant submission assistance. That is being awarded to Suburban Consulting Engineers. And the main for that grant is supplement documentation and submission assistance for a high monetary values FEMA grant for the Green Street area. As we all know, that area floods regularly.
Right, but the grant, the resolution tonight is for like 95,000. That's on top of the 200 that's left from the old. So
Yes.
really, we're looking at $300,000.
Yes.
But what kind of guarantees do we have that we're going to get this 32 million?
Very good, 'cause we're working closely with the person who administers the grant, and they pretty much guarantee that we're in the lead for it.
Let's just keep an eye on top of it.
Yeah, we have bi-weekly meetings with parties involved in that.
Because it shouldn't be that we're paying for learning on their part.
No,
To be very careful with that, with this organization.
correct. Court Street drainage area, Clay Street combined sewer overflow separation. This resolution, we're looking to install some underground storage under areas of Carver Park to assist in flooding in that section of the city, in addition to all the sewer separation. At fire headquarters, in addition to the remediation efforts, we are looking at upgrading and improving the oil water separator that runs underneath the building in the apparatus floor to disconnect the oil from the sewer. So that's on that as well. And the stormwater asset management plan is part of the combined sewer overflow and our long-term control plan to evaluate the current infrastructure in the city. And also, it is required for implementation of the long-term control plan. In addition to that, we also have a resolution for CDBG submission for some resurfacing for South Newman Street. It's in need of that. And Main Street, project update, the final blocks for streetscape, Sussex to Atlantic, the contractor mobilized this week, and weather permitting, they're gonna start, I think Thursday, and we'll wrap that up beginning of April.
Coordinating with the businesses and.
Yes, I sent out a notice to the Alliance, and the contractor handed out notices, went door to door last week.
I mean, there's no changes to the street, it's all just.
Correct, it's from, the curb is already installed, it's from the curb back, so the paver
Yeah,
banding
it's not for the
and the new sidewalks.
Whatever we can do to help them.
Yeah, we'll,
Let them work, if they can work in small groups so that we're not,
yeah, we'll go up one side and we'll keep the area in front of the doors, we'll save that for last, and put up ramps and everything like we did for the other courses.
we maybe need some extra help down there to just make it secure, so we help people, and they get hurt.
Yep.
We still want to maintain access to the businesses.
Yeah, they have to, and the contractor's been reminded of that.
Meyer, are they running any new lines in the building, or utilities, or this?
No,
Gas and water?
nope. I believe the water and gas should be fairly new in that section, I believe. It's not like we had a,
Well, I saw
sewer
the water, I
separation.
didn't know whether that was just.
That's just part of the, because they're gonna be excavating.
Replace them.
They're gonna be excavating, so they have to mark out.
Good things. They're actually looking, I thought they took storage tank for the report.
Yeah,
They want to get it done, but they're nervous about it. This is a good time for folks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The big business time, and they don't want to be shut down, so.
Yeah, no, we can't shut down businesses. We'll, whatever we gotta do to put down in front of their doors so that we stay operational.
Getting back to the hazard mitigation grant, I'm certain, I'm here, that we're gonna be working in conjunction with, the town south of here, that already got the big grant. They're working, I guess, towards, are they gonna be into the rising ditch at the end of Green Street?
It goes up to Route 80, that's where they stop.
So they don't get into that. So that's what we're gonna be looking to do?
Yeah, we're picking it up from there. We met with South
Yeah.
Hackensack, but
They won't do it, huh?
They're not engaging.
no.
Deputy Mayor.
What about New Jersey, the Department of Transportation? I mean, a lot of that mess was all there when they put in the Navy.
They're working with, the other grant, because that's in the order. We will reach out to them, but
I think we gotta push hard on that. I mean, a lot of that mess started with, when they put the Navy in there. And a lot of the construction debris, that's caused that mess there. So whatever we can do to get
yeah,
ahead of what's on the.
once we get going on the grant, they'll be, I don't want to say stakeholders, but they'll be, we'll have to work with them, because it includes their right of ways. So.
And just for public information, if we do get this grant, there is a matching portion of that from the state, right?
Yeah, the grant, I think, is a total of 40, so the
Well,
grant is
that's-
32, and we have to come up with 8.
We'll just make sure his Jim's is sitting there, make sure he's terminated on that, when we get into expect.
I'm pretty sure we can use what we've already expended towards grant, toward the match.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Because we were looking to go north
Did
of
we
the
do that
number.
much on Green Street?
What's that?
$8 million worth?
Oh, easily.
Is it, on Green Street?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, then that's good news.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for answering our questions.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, motion to open to public?
Paul.
Second. Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll. Did we lose him?
Yeah, everything shut down for a second.
All right, Mayor
We're
Ross.
rolling.
Aye. Okay, anybody from the public who would like to speak, please come forward. Come to the podium, give your name and address, please.
It's just a question. Good evening, I'm Stuart Hackensack. On the display in our full discussion, Second Street Park, Harbor Park. When will that park be completed, the basketball court and all that?
Same question.
Will it be completed by?
I'm sorry?
Estimated completion of Harbor Park.
Yeah, like I said, we're doing the concept plans, so we'll hopefully go out to bid in the spring, and then early summer will be completed.
Because this year, the loss of that basketball program
Mm-hmm.
was greatly missed.
We definitely realize the impact, and I agree 100%.
Candy, we're gonna renovate the 3 basketball courts,
Yeah.
all 3.
And the last thing, can you remove that flower because we can't see? Thank you.
Next question, please. Everybody has 3 minutes, so.
I'm trying to get it back.
Okay, I'll use a timer on mine.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Mealy with the firm Mid-Atlantic Engineering Partners, located in Morristown. Also with me is my client from Stroh, developers who own 2 warehouses in the southern portion of Hackensack. And we just want to, I know you guys have talked a lot tonight about drainage issues. We want to discuss with you some of the regional drainage issues that we have in our vicinity of your city. And it's at the very southern end of Hackensack, close to Hasbrook Heights, Teterboro, and South Hackensack. Stroh owns 2 warehouse buildings. And if you're familiar with, this area actually has been studied a number of times by the city. Lozen Slope is the name of the stream that cuts across the northern end of the site that we're located. Underneath our building, actually through a concrete culvert, twin culverts, back to an open ditch, and it runs along Route 80 south until it hits Green Street. This whole region is prone to flooding. It's a low-lying area. Route 80 and Polyfly Road are about 30 feet higher than our site. Our site is down in the floodplain somewhat, and we do get backwater in from Berry Creek and the drainage ditch that runs along that area. So we're looking to partner with the city and have the city really help us take the lead on addressing the regional issues here. We did prepare a memo that outlines the general problems and some solutions and what we're asking the city in your help on.
So why don't we do this, why don't we find a meeting with the city manager
Get Ryan.
and Ryan,
Ryan,
and our engineer.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
hasn't
This is what
Suburban,
got from Suburban.
Yes.
we have engaged Suburban already?
Yes,
on this?
yeah, this is the area for the grant.
Yeah,
And
for the
I believe he
mitigation.
sent you a memo.
It was an
We
email.
received, yeah, we just received a memo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We received a memo today, very positive, and it reinforces a lot of the things that we found, so we're happy to see that.
We suspected that that Roger ditch has been a cause of a lot of the flooding in Hackensack, not just there, but even farther up, towards Union Street, up that way,
Yes.
all the way to First Street, as part of one of the culverts, besides low lying areas. You know, and definitely increased since it did about 80, we know that. So, you know, that's what we've been.
That's the purpose of these grants, I mean, this will help tremendously.
Thank you.
And only the city could really take the lead on that, which is why we're here. And we heard South Newman improvements being discussed, which is also very much in need.
What's your address?
211-215 South
Just make sure that's up.
Thank you.
But we've been focusing, you know, on that area for some time now,
That's
that's why
great.
we're investing to pursue these grants, and and NJDOT, we have to engage them more and more, and
Okay,
whatever support we can get, and it helps with stakeholders like yourselves.
okay.
You know, because hearing firsthand that information, I think, is very valuable.
Thank you, yeah.
But thank you for coming and
Thank
being
you.
part of this, we
Thank
appreciate it.
you. No, I'm so happy to hear from you guys. This is great, really appreciate
We've
it.
been taking the flooding pretty much head on.
Yeah.
We spent upwards of $50 million.
Well, we appreciate that, and thank you for helping and working with us.
Thanks so much.
Great.
it's sold, I have one in my phone, I think, if not, we have your email, right?
Yeah.
Evening, Marty Smith, Prospect Avenue. I have 3 questions. 2.5 years ago, we requested that crosswalks be installed on Prospect Avenue in 3 locations. The project was done, however, the crosswalk for Prospect and Atlantic was never included in the project. So we're wondering why that was omitted. Question 2, at the September council meeting, we asked if our police patrol cars are equipped with protective shields for our officers' use in the event they're called to come to an active shooter situation. Mr. Caruso said he thought that there was some patrol cars so equipped, but he wasn't sure how many, but that he would follow up on that. We wonder if he has any more definitive information on that. And question 3, does the police department currently have an ongoing program of road checkpoints for vehicles coming into Hackensack for proper identification, such as driver's licenses, insurance cards that are current, and proper license plates on their vehicles, plus DWI and DUI possibilities?
I'll look into Prospect and Atlantic and see what's going on with that crosswalk. Unless, Ryan, you don't have anything on that, right?
What's that?
Prospect and Atlantic?
Yeah,
crosswalk?
actually, we got a grant this year for that whole, yeah, from Essex down to Prospect down Atlantic, yeah.
So we're gonna work on it this year,
Yeah.
all right? As far as the ballistic shields, I met with the director and asked him about that. They do not.
They do not.
There's 1 or 2, so we're gonna be looking to outfit the cars with them going forward.
We think 100% of the cars should be so
I agree.
equipped.
I agree. And your last question was regarding,
Roadside checkpoints for
Roadside
vehicles
checkpoints,
coming
yeah.
into Hackensack.
we can, you know, a lot of times there's grants for that, or maybe our traffic, I could speak to the director and see about our traffic division setting up some type of checkpoints. But a lot of times there's a lot of operational and logistic things that have to take place for that. You can't just pop up with, 3 or 4 cars on the street and set up some cones and start stopping everything. It can be done, it's just that it requires some planning.
I've seen it done, but not
It's
for
been
a long
done.
time.
Yes, it has been done, I've done it when I was in Lowell. But there are, the one thing is like the Drive Sober Get Pulled Over grant, which we just received. They'll be out during the holidays for that. We have funding from the Division of Highway Traffic Safety that is going to provide overtime for our officers to be out there either in stationary or roving patrols looking for drunk driving.
It actually started
Thank you.
on Thursday or Friday
Right.
last week and goes to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
correct. Through Thanksgiving, from the beginning of, just before Thanksgiving through the end of the year.
Right. Anyone else in the public?
Justin Miller, President, Hackensack Firefighters Local 181. I just want to raise a couple of points. When we had our meeting with you about the Safer Grant a couple of weeks ago, we sat for over 2 hours, and never once did the municipal tax, the 2% cap, the 3.5% spending cap get brought up. When we asked the CFO where the overtime savings money came from, he said he pulled it out of thin air. When we asked him about the 5-year plan, to see that that was fiscally responsible for the city, and to see if other potentially more than 5 firefighters could be hired, he said he never did those numbers. So I don't see how we could say that this is a win for the city, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe we could have hired more firefighters than just the 5. I believe we were under the same impression that the 5 was a miscommunication of how many firefighters we had potentially retiring this year, and our chief explained to you that that was 5. We've always asked for 8 firefighters a year because we have 4 shifts. 5 just doesn't make much sense, and especially without the numbers being done to see if it was fiscally responsible. I don't know why we're saying that 5 is like the end-all be-all for this. The city has to consider hiring and expanding the police department and fire department and the rest of the city services as the city is growing. 5 is not exactly going to be helping us much on the day-to-day. And with the city growing at the rate it is, the city needs to do it over time. Many other bigger cities, Patterson, Camden, they all survive off the Safer Grant. Once you get the Safer Grant, they reapply for the Safer Grant and they continue their resources that way. A lot of these cities are stagnant in growth overall, and with our population increasing at the rate it is and the buildings increasing at the rate they are, and empty parking lots or vacant buildings, and they're booming the way the city is, 5 at the time is not going to be helpful. It has to be something that's broken down and considered, but when the numbers aren't really exactly done, and it's just kind of a fly by the seat of the pants, this is not something that the city or the city residents and the department that deserve from you guys right now.
Mayor, if I may, I was at that meeting as well, and it may have been after you walked out, but the city auditor definitely talked about the 3.5% cap at the meeting that we were at. You left abruptly, and it may have been before you chose to leave abruptly, but it was certainly brought up and discussed at that meeting, so that's untrue.
Next person from the public, please. Seeing none, motion to close.
Faulkner.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Aye. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Did we get Councilman Carroll back?
He might be back. Let's see.
Councilman Carroll?
So,
I don't think so. Mayor LaBrus?
aye, we gotta get Councilman Brown back.
I'm working on it, yeah.
He's working on it.
Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes, 5-minute break, we start at 8:00. Do you want to finish it if we assign any?
Certainly try to get a couple things out of the way.